There's a moment that comes to almost everyone, usually around 3 in the morning, when you can't sleep, when your mind won't shut off, when all your defenses are down and you're forced to face something you've been avoiding. Your regrets, not the small ones, not the "I wish I'd ordered the other meal" kind, but the big ones, the life-altering ones. The decisions you made or didn't make that changed the trajectory of everything. The relationships you destroyed, the opportunities you let slip away, the version of yourself you failed to become. Most people experience this 3 a.m. truth and then spend the rest of their lives running from it. They bury those regrets. They rationalize them. They build elaborate stories about why things had to be the way they were. They tell themselves that dwelling on the past is pointless, that you can't change what's already happened, that the only thing to do is move forward and forget. But what if that's exactly wrong? What if your biggest regrets aren't meant to be buried? What if they're actually the most valuable information you have about your future? What if the thing you're most ashamed of could become the thing that saves you? I'm not talking about wallowing in guilt. I'm not suggesting you torture yourself with past mistakes. I'm talking about something completely different. I'm talking about mining your regrets for wisdom, using your past failures as a navigation system for your future, transforming the worst moments of your life into the most valuable lessons you'll ever learn. Because here's what most people don't understand. Regret is information. Specific, precise information about what matters to you, what doesn't, what you value, what you can't compromise on, what kind of person you want to be, and what kind of life you actually want to live. Your regrets are a map, a guide, a compass, but only if you're willing to look at them. Right now, you probably have at least 3 major regrets, 3 decisions or non-decisions that you think about when you can't sleep, 3 moments when you chose wrong and you knew it, 3 times when you betrayed yourself, compromised your values, took the easy path, said yes when you meant no, stayed when you should have left, or left when you should have stayed. And you've probably spent years trying not to think about those moments, trying to move on, trying to convince yourself it doesn't matter anymore. But it does matter. Because those regrets are trying to tell you something critical about how to live the rest of your life. My name doesn't matter, but my regrets do. Because I spent 42 years accumulating them, making the wrong choices, living the wrong life, becoming someone I didn't want to be, and then spending even more years running from the pain of recognizing what I'd done, until I realized my regrets weren't my enemies, they were my teachers. They weren't punishments, they were lessons. They weren't evidence that I was broken, they were proof that I had values and that I'd violated them. And once I stopped running from my regrets and started listening to them, everything changed. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how your regrets are secretly guiding you toward the life you're supposed to live. I'm going to reveal why the things you're most ashamed of contain the wisdom you most need. I'm going to share how I transform my biggest failures into my greatest advantages. And most importantly, I'm going to give you the exact framework to use your regrets as fuel for your future instead of anchors to your past. But I need you to be willing to do something most people never do. I need you to be willing to actually look at your regrets, not glance at them and look away. Really look at them, study them, understand them. Because your regrets know something your conscious mind doesn't. They know what you actually value, what you actually need, who you actually want to be. Are you ready to face your 3 a.m. truth? Are you ready to stop running from your regrets? Are you ready to discover that the worst moments of your past might be the keys to the best moments of your future? Then let's begin. Because your regrets have been trying to teach you something, and it's time to listen. Let me take you to my 3 a.m. moment, the one that changed everything. I was 42 years old, lying in bed at 2:47 in the morning, unable to sleep for the 3rd night in a row. And all I could think about were my regrets, not the small ones. the big three, the life-defining mistakes that had shaped the last 2 decades of my existence. Regret number 1. I stayed in a corporate job I hated for 15 years because it was safe. I had wanted to be a writer since I was 23. I had talent, I had ideas, I had passion, but I also had fear. So I took a corporate marketing job temporarily to pay the bills. 15 years later, I was still there, still writing other people's words, still killing my own voice, still telling myself, someday, I had sacrificed 15 years of doing what I loved for a paycheck and the illusion of security. 15 years I would never get back. Regret number 2. I ended a relationship with someone I loved because I was too afraid of commitment. Her name was Sarah. We dated for 3 years. She was everything I claimed I wanted: intelligent, kind, supportive, funny. She wanted to build a life together. I panicked. I invented reasons why it wouldn't work. I sabotaged the relationship with criticism and distance until she finally left. I told myself it was for the best, that I wasn't ready, that I needed to focus on my career. But the truth was simpler and more pathetic. I was scared, and 5 years later, I was still thinking about her, still wondering what our life could have been, still regretting the cowardice that cost me the best relationship I'd ever had. Regret. Number 3. I didn't pursue a business idea that I knew was good because I was afraid of failure. When I was 35, I had an idea for a consulting service that combined my marketing expertise with my understanding of small businesses. I researched it. I planned it. I knew it would work. But I never launched it. I talked myself out of it with 100 excuses. The timing wasn't right. I didn't have enough savings. The market was too competitive. What if I failed and looked foolish? So I did nothing. And 3 years later, I watched someone else launch almost the exact same concept and build a 7-figure business with it. I had let fear of failure cost me not just money, but proof that I could build something meaningful. These 3 regrets haunted me. They played on repeat in my mind. They showed up at 3 in the morning when I couldn't sleep. They whispered to me in quiet moments, "You wasted 15 years. You destroyed the best relationship you ever had. You let fear stop you from building something great." And for years, I dealt with these regrets the way most people do. I buried them. I rationalized them. I created elaborate stories about why things had to be that way. The job? I told myself I needed the security. I had bills. I was being responsible. Lots of people have jobs they don't love. That's just life. The relationship? I told myself we weren't right for each other. It wouldn't have worked long term. I did her a favor by ending it. She deserved someone who was all in. The business? I told myself the idea probably wouldn't have worked. That other person had advantages I didn't have. I was being realistic about my limitations. Not every idea is meant to succeed. These stories helped me avoid the pain. They helped me justify my choices. They helped me feel less like a coward and more like someone who had made reasonable decisions given the circumstances. But they were lies, and somewhere deep inside, I knew they were lies. Because here's what I learned about regret. You don't regret things that don't matter to you. You don't lie awake at 3 in the morning thinking about insignificant choices. You regret the moments when you betrayed your values, when you chose fear over courage, when you compromised what mattered for what felt safe. My regret about the job wasn't really about the job. It was about betraying my creative identity, about choosing money over meaning, about living someone else's life instead of my own. My regret about Sarah wasn't really about Sarah. It was about my inability to be vulnerable, about choosing safety over love, about letting fear make my decisions. My regret about the business wasn't really about the business. It was about my lack of faith in myself, about choosing certainty over possibility, about playing small when I could have played big. These regrets were trying to tell me something. They were trying to show me the gap between who I was and who I wanted to be, the distance between how I was living and how I wanted to live, but I wasn't listening. I was too busy running from the pain of acknowledging my mistakes. And that's the problem with how most people handle regret. They think the goal is to make the regret go away, to stop feeling bad about what happened, to get over it and move on. So they use one of 5 strategies. Strategy 1, denial. It wasn't that bad. I'm overreacting. It doesn't really matter. They minimize the significance of what happened to make the regret feel smaller. Strategy 2, rationalization. I had good reasons. Anyone would have done the same. I did the best I could with what I knew. They create elaborate justifications for their choices. Strategy 3, blame. It wasn't my fault. Other people pressured me. Circumstances forced me. I didn't have a choice. They shift responsibility to external factors. Strategy 4, distraction. I need to focus on the future, not the past. Dwelling on this is unproductive. Let me think about something else. They actively avoid thinking about the regret. Strategy 5, numbing. I need to not feel this. Let me work harder, drink more, scroll endlessly, do anything to not sit with this discomfort. They use various behaviors to escape the emotional pain. All of these strategies have one thing in common. They're trying to make the regret go away without learning from it. They're treating regret as a problem to be eliminated rather than information to be understood. And that's the tragedy. Because your regrets aren't punishing you, they're teaching you. They're showing you exactly what matters most to you. They're revealing the values you violated, the needs you ignored, the version of yourself you failed to become. But you can't learn from information you refuse to look at. You can't use a map you keep crumpled in a drawer. You can't benefit from wisdom you're actively running from. That night, at 2:47 in the morning, lying awake with my 3 regrets playing on repeat, I made a different choice. Instead of trying to make the regrets go away, I decided to actually look at them, to study them, to understand what they were trying to teach me. And what I discovered changed everything. The morning after my sleepless night, I did something I'd never done before. I got a notebook and I wrote at the top, "What are my regrets trying to teach me?" Not how do I get over my regrets, not how do I stop feeling bad, but what are they trying to teach me? And then I started writing, honestly, without justification or rationalization, just the raw truth about what I regretted and why. Regret 1, the 15 years in the corporate job. What happened? I took a job that didn't align with my values because it felt safe. I stayed for 15 years despite being unhappy because I was afraid of the uncertainty of leaving. Why I regret it? Because I betrayed my creative identity. Because I chose money over meaning. Because I was living someone else's definition of success instead of my own. What it's teaching me? That safety isn't actually safe when it costs you your soul. That financial security without fulfillment is its own kind of poverty. That I have a deep need to do creative work that matters, and ignoring that need creates suffering. The lesson: in the future, I need to prioritize work that aligns with my creative identity, even if it's less secure. I need to build a career around meaning, not just money. I need to trust that pursuing what I love is worth the risk. As I wrote that, something clicked. My regret wasn't telling me I was a failure. It was telling me I had a value I'd violated, the need for creative fulfillment, and it was showing me exactly what I needed to change. Stop prioritizing security over meaning. I continued. Regret 2, ending the relationship with Sarah. What happened? I had a loving, healthy relationship with someone who wanted commitment. I got scared of vulnerability and commitment. I sabotaged the relationship and let her go. Why I regret it? because I let fear make my decision instead of love, because I chose emotional safety over emotional depth, because I sacrificed a real connection for the illusion of freedom. What it's teaching me, that avoiding vulnerability isn't protecting me, it's isolating me. That commitment isn't a trap, it's a foundation. That I have a deep need for intimate connection, and running from it creates loneliness. The lesson: in the future, I need to lean into vulnerability instead of running from it. I need to see commitment as an opportunity, not a threat. I need to trust that love is worth the risk of loss. Another click. This regret was revealing something crucial. I had a value I'd violated, the need for deep, authentic connection. And it was showing me what needed to change. Stop letting fear of vulnerability keep me isolated. Regret 3, not launching the business. What happened? I had a viable business idea. I researched it and planned it, but I never launched because I was afraid of failure and judgment. Why I regret it? Because I let fear of what others might think stop me from pursuing my potential. Because I chose certainty over possibility. Because I played small when I could have played big. What it's teaching me, that fear of failure is more painful than actual failure. That other people's opinions don't actually matter as much as my own self-respect. That I have a deep need to build something significant, and playing small violates that need. The lesson: in the future, I need to take bold action despite fear. I need to value my own belief in my ideas more than others' potential judgment. I need to trust that attempting and failing is better than never attempting. As I finished writing, I saw the pattern clearly. Each regret was revealing a core value I had. From the job regret, I value creative fulfillment and meaningful work. From the relationship regret, I value deep, vulnerable connection. From the business regret, I value building something significant and taking bold action. And each regret was showing me exactly where I'd violated these values. I'd chosen security over creative fulfillment. I'd chosen emotional safety over vulnerable connection. I'd chosen certainty over bold action. My regrets weren't random. They weren't punishments. They were precise feedback. They were telling me, these are the things that matter most to you, and you violated them. Don't do that again. This realization was profound, because it meant my regrets weren't about the past. They were about the future. They were showing me exactly how to live going forward. Prioritize creative fulfillment. Embrace vulnerable connection. Take bold action. But understanding my regrets intellectually wasn't enough. I needed to actually change my behavior. I needed to let my regrets guide my decisions going forward. So I made 3 commitments based on my 3 regrets. Commitment 1, from the job regret. I committed to leaving my corporate job within 6 months and building a career around creative work, even if it meant less financial security. I would not spend another year betraying my creative identity for a paycheck. Commitment 2, from the relationship regret. I committed to practicing vulnerability in my relationships and being open to commitment instead of running from it. The next time I met someone I connected with, I would lean in instead of pulling away. Commitment 3, from the business regret. I committed to launching a business within the year, even if I was afraid, even if it might fail, even if people might judge me. I would not let fear stop me from building something again. These commitments were scary. Each one required me to do exactly what my regrets revealed I'd been avoiding: risk, vulnerability, boldness. But here's what I realized. My regrets were scary too. Living with the knowledge that I'd wasted 15 years, destroyed a great relationship, and let fear stop me from building something meaningful that was terrifying. Far more terrifying than taking action. I had been choosing the wrong fear. I'd been more afraid of taking risks than I was of living with regret. But once I truly faced my regrets, I understood. The pain of regret is worse than the pain of risk. The suffering of I didn't try is worse than the suffering of I tried and failed. So I started taking action based on my commitments. Action 1. I gave notice at my corporate job, not someday. Within 2 weeks of my 3 a.m. realization, I gave 6 months' notice to transition my responsibilities. I was terrified, but I was more terrified of staying. Action 2. I started therapy to work on my fear of vulnerability and commitment. I wasn't in a relationship at the time, but I wanted to be ready when the opportunity came. I wanted to address the fear that it cost me Sarah before it cost me someone else. Action 3. I launched a consulting business, the same idea I'd had years earlier. I built a website. I reached out to potential clients. I put myself out there despite my fear of judgment and failure. Within 3 months, I had my first client. Each action was uncomfortable. Giving notice at my job brought up all my fear about security. Starting therapy forced me to face painful truths about my emotional patterns. Launching the business exposed me to potential failure and judgment. But each action also brought something I hadn't felt in years: alignment. The sense that I was finally living according to my values instead of violating them. The feeling that I was moving toward the person I wanted to be instead of away from them. 6 months after my 3 a.m. moment, my life looked completely different. I had left my corporate job and was doing freelance creative work. I was actively working on my fear of vulnerability. I had a small but growing consulting business. Was everything perfect? No. I was making less money. I had moments of doubt. I still struggled with fear. But I had something more important than perfection. I had alignment. I was living according to the values my regrets had revealed. I was choosing courage over safety. I was building a life that, if I looked back on it years from now, I wouldn't regret. And most importantly, I could sleep through the night. Because I wasn't running from my regrets anymore, I was learning from them. Once I learned to listen to my regrets instead of running from them, I developed what I call the regret navigation system. This is the framework that transforms regrets from anchors that hold you back into compasses that guide you forward. The system has 7 components, and each one is essential. Component 1, the honest inventory. You need to identify your major regrets without rationalization or justification. Just honest acknowledgement of what you regret and why. The practice. Write down your top 3 to 5 major regrets, not small disappointments, major life regrets, the things you think about at 3 in the morning. For each one, write 3 things. What happened exactly? Just the facts, without justification. Why you regret it. Be brutally honest about what bothers you about this choice or non-choice. What cost you incurred? What did this regret cost you? Time, relationships, opportunities, self-respect. My inventory included the 15-year corporate job, the relationship with Sarah, and the business I didn't launch. Each one had specific costs. 15 years of creative fulfillment, a potentially lifelong partnership, and a successful business. This inventory is painful, but it's necessary because you can't navigate with information you won't acknowledge. Component 2, the value extraction. Every regret reveals a value you violated. Your job is to identify that value. The practice. For each regret, ask, what value did I violate? What does this regret reveal about what matters to me? If you regret staying in a soul-crushing job, the violated value might be meaningful work, creative expression, or personal fulfillment. If you regret missing your children's childhoods while climbing the corporate ladder, the violated value might be family connection, presence, or being an engaged parent. If you regret not pursuing your passion, the violated value might be authentic self-expression, pursuing dreams, or living boldly. If you regret hurting someone you loved, the violated value might be kindness, integrity, or treating people well. For my 3 regrets, the values were clear. Job regret revealed, I value creative fulfillment and meaningful work. Relationship regret revealed, I value deep, vulnerable connection. Business regret revealed, I value building something significant and taking bold action. These values became my compass. They showed me exactly what to prioritize in my future decisions. Component 3, the pattern recognition. Once you identify the values behind your regrets, you usually see a pattern. Most people have 1 or 2 core patterns that show up across multiple regrets. The practice. Look across your regrets. What pattern do you see? What's the common thread? Common patterns include choosing safety over authenticity, multiple regrets about playing it safe, avoiding risk, choosing security over passion, choosing achievement over connection, multiple regrets about prioritizing success, money, or status over relationships and presence, choosing others' approval over self-respect, multiple regrets about living for others' expectations instead of your own values, choosing comfort over growth, multiple regrets about staying in situations that felt comfortable but weren't helping you grow. My pattern was clear, choosing fear-based safety over value-based action. In the job, the relationship, and the business, I had made the fear-based choice instead of the value-based choice. That pattern recognition was powerful because it showed me that my core work wasn't about fixing 3 separate mistakes. It was about addressing 1 core pattern, letting fear override my values. Component 4, the future vision. Your regrets show you what not to do. Now you need to define what to do instead. The practice. Based on your identified values, write your future vision. If you lived according to these values instead of violating them, what would your life look like? Be specific, not vague aspirations. Concrete vision. My future vision. Work. I'm doing creative work that fulfills me, using my writing and ideas to help others, building something meaningful. Relationships. I'm in a committed, vulnerable, authentic relationship with someone I deeply love and who deeply loves me. Business. I've built a successful business that combines my skills and passions, serving clients in meaningful ways. Life. I'm taking bold action on my ideas, living according to my values, choosing courage over comfort. This vision became my target. My regrets had shown me what to avoid. This vision showed me what to aim for. Component 5, the commitment declaration. Vision without commitment is fantasy. You need to make specific commitments based on your regrets. The practice. For each major regret, create a commitment statement that ensures you won't repeat that pattern. Format. I commit to doing this specific thing to honor this specific value, even though it's this specific scary. My 3 commitment statements. From job regrets. I commit to building a career around creative, meaningful work that fulfills me, even though it means less financial security and more uncertainty. From relationship regret. I commit to practicing vulnerability and being open to deep commitment when I meet someone I connect with, even though it means risking being hurt again. From business regret. I commit to taking bold action on my business ideas despite fear of failure or judgment, even though it means risking looking foolish. These commitments were specific, action-oriented, and acknowledged the fear without letting it be the deciding factor. Component 6, the progress tracking. You need a system to track whether you're actually living according to your commitments or falling back into old patterns. The practice. Create a weekly check-in. Every week, ask yourself, did I honor my commitment this week, or did I fall into the old pattern? What evidence do I have that I'm living according to my values? What fears came up this week, and did I let them override my values? What's one action I can take next week that aligns with my commitments? I did this every Sunday evening. Some weeks I had honored my commitments, some weeks I hadn't. But the tracking kept me honest. It kept me conscious of whether I was choosing values or fear. Component 7, the regret prevention mindset. The ultimate goal is to make future decisions that you won't regret. This requires a specific decision-making approach, the practice. When facing significant decisions, ask the regret test. If I'm on my deathbed looking back at this moment, which choice would I regret less? If I choose this, will it honor my core values or violate them? Am I making this decision from fear or from values? Will future me thank me for this choice or regret it? This regret test became my decision filter. It helped me make difficult choices because the answer was usually clear. The fear-based choice would lead to regret. The value-based choice wouldn't. When I was deciding whether to leave my corporate job, the regret test was clear. Staying would honor fear. Leaving would honor my values. Future me would regret staying. Future me wouldn't regret trying. When I was deciding whether to launch my business despite fear, the regret test was clear. Not launching would repeat the pattern I already regretted. Launching would honor my commitment to bold action. Future me would regret not trying. Future me wouldn't regret attempting and failing. These 7 components transformed how I related to my regrets. Instead of sources of shame, they became sources of guidance. Instead of painful memories, they became powerful teachers. Instead of anchors to my past, they became compasses for my future. Now you understand how regrets can guide you instead of haunt you. Let me give you the exact action plan to start using your regrets as fuel for your future. Action 1, complete your honest inventory tonight. Before you go to sleep, write down your 3 to 5 major regrets, the ones that keep you awake at 3 in the morning. For each one, write what happened exactly, why you regret it, and what it cost you. Be brutally honest. No rationalization, just truth. Action 2. Extract one value from one regret. Take your biggest regret. Ask, what value did I violate? What does this regret reveal about what actually matters to me? Write it clearly. This revealed value is gold. It's showing you what to prioritize going forward. Action 3. Identify your pattern. Look across your regrets. What's the common thread? Are you choosing safety over authenticity? Achievement over connection? Others' approval over self-respect? Comfort over growth? Write your pattern. This is the core issue you need to address. Action 4. Write your future vision for one area. Take the value you identified. Write specifically what your life would look like if you honored that value instead of violating it. Not vague, concrete. I am doing this specific work. I am in this type of relationship. I am living this way. This becomes your target. Action 5. Make one commitment statement. Based on your biggest regret, write one commitment. Format. I commit to doing this specific thing to honor this specific value, even though it means this specific fear. Make it concrete. Make it scary. Write it down and sign it. Action 6. Take one action this week. From your commitment, what's one action you can take in the next 7 days? Not a perfect action, not a complete solution. Just one step that aligns with your values instead of your fears. Schedule it. Put it in your calendar. Do it. Action 7. Set up your weekly check-in. Block 1 hour every Sunday evening. Title it Regret Navigation Check-In. In this hour, review your week. Did I honor my commitment? Did I choose values or fear? What evidence do I have? What's my action for next week? This keeps you accountable. Action 8. Use the regret test on one decision. You have a significant decision to make this week or this month. Before deciding, ask the 4 regret test questions. Which choice would I regret less on my deathbed? Which honors my values? Am I choosing from fear or values? Will future me thank me for this? Let the answers guide you. Action 9. Share your commitment with one person. Tell someone you trust about the regret you're addressing and the commitment you're making, not for their approval, for accountability. Ask them to check in with you monthly about whether you're honoring your commitment. Action 10. Address one fear directly. Your regrets reveal fears that have been controlling you. Fear of insecurity, fear of vulnerability, fear of failure, fear of judgment. Pick one fear. Do something this month that directly confronts it. If you fear vulnerability, have one deeply honest conversation. If you fear failure, attempt one thing you might fail at. Face the fear instead of letting it decide. Action 11. Create your value statement. Based on the values your regrets revealed, write a personal value statement. 3 to 5 sentences about what matters most to you and how you commit to living. Put this where you'll see it daily. Your bathroom mirror, your phone wallpaper, your desk. Let it remind you constantly. Action 12. Forgive your past self. Write a letter to the version of you who made the choices you regret, not justifying what they did, but understanding they were doing their best with what they knew. Acknowledge their fear, forgive their mistakes, then commit to not repeating them. This releases the shame while keeping the lesson. Action 13. Start a future regret prevention journal. Get a notebook. Title it Decisions I Won't Regret. Every time you make a significant choice, write the decision, why you made it, what value it honors, why you believe future you will be glad. This creates evidence that you're living differently. Action 14. Schedule your 3-month review. Put a reminder 3 months from today. Title it Regret Navigation Review. In this review, assess, have I been living according to my values? Have I honored my commitments? What patterns have I changed? What do I still need to work on? What's my focus for the next 3 months? Action 15. Commit to the long game. Write this statement and put it where you'll see it. My past regrets are teaching me how to live my future. I will not run from this wisdom. I will not repeat these patterns. I will choose values over fear, even when it's hard. Future me is counting on present me to be brave. Read this when you're tempted to make the fear-based choice. Now, some of you are thinking, but what if my regrets are too big? What if I've wasted decades? What if I've hurt people irreparably? What if it's too late to change? Here's my answer. Your regrets are only too big if you learn nothing from them. If you waste decades, learn nothing, and continue the same patterns, that's tragedy. But if you waste decades, learn everything, and completely change course, that's transformation. It's never too late to stop repeating your regrets. It's never too late to start honoring your values. It's never too late to become the person your regrets are showing you want to be. Yes, you've lost time. Yes, you've made mistakes. Yes, there are consequences. But you have a choice right now. Spend the rest of your life running from your regrets and repeating your patterns, or spend the rest of your life learning from your regrets and honoring your values. One path leads to more regrets. The other path leads to a life you won't regret. Choose. Let me tell you where I am now, 4 years after my 3 a.m. moment. 4 years after I stopped running from my regrets and started listening to them. I'm doing creative work that fulfills me, writing, teaching, helping others discover what their regrets are trying to teach them. I'm not in a corporate job betraying my creative identity. I'm building a career around meaning. I'm in a committed, vulnerable relationship with someone I love deeply. Her name is Rachel. We've been together for 2 years. When fear of vulnerability came up, I didn't run this time. I leaned in. I learned from my regret about Sarah. I chose differently. I have a thriving consulting business. The same idea I regretted not launching years ago. It's successful, it's meaningful, it serves people. And every client I help is evidence that taking the risk was worth it. But the external changes aren't what matter most. The internal transformation is what changed my life. 4 years ago, my regrets haunted me. They kept me awake at 3 in the morning. They made me feel like a failure. They created shame that poisoned my present. Today, my regrets guide me. They're the wisest teachers I've ever had. They showed me my values with precision my conscious mind never could. They revealed exactly what kind of life I needed to build. They gave me a compass for every decision. I'm not glad I made the mistakes that created my regrets. I'm not grateful for the pain I caused myself and others. I wish I had learned these lessons sooner without the cost. But given that I did make those mistakes, given that I do have those regrets, I'm grateful I finally learned to listen to them, because they saved me from wasting the rest of my life repeating the same patterns. Your regrets are doing the same thing right now, today. They're trying to teach you something. They're showing you what matters. They're revealing the values you need to honor. They're pointing toward the life you need to build. The question is, will you listen? Will you stop running from your 3 a.m. truth and start learning from it? Will you stop bearing your regrets and start mining them for wisdom? Will you stop letting shame paralyze you and start letting lessons transform you? 4 years ago, I was lying awake at 3 in the morning, tormented by my regrets. Today, I sleep through the night because I'm not running anymore. I'm building a life that honors the lessons my regrets taught me. That's available to you, not 4 years from now, starting today. The moment you stop seeing your regrets as enemies and start seeing them as teachers, your biggest regrets can save your future, but only if you're brave enough to face them, only if you're wise enough to learn from them, only if you're committed enough to change because of them. So tonight, when you lie awake at 3 in the morning, don't run from what your regrets are trying to tell you. Listen, really listen. Because your regrets know something your conscious mind doesn't. They know what you value, what you need, who you want to be. And once you know that, you know exactly how to build a future you won't regret. 4 years ago, I couldn't sleep because of my regrets. Today, I sleep peacefully because of the lessons they taught me. That transformation is waiting for you. Not someday, tonight, at 3 in the morning. When your regrets come calling, will you finally answer?